this meeting of the Onslow County Board of Education to order. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and as always, it's a pleasure to have our parents and our community involved in our meetings. I'd like to call our deputy, Butler, to the podium or to the microphone, whichever he prefers, and he will be delivering our invocation.
I'm the chaplain at the sheriff's office, so I guess it's appropriate. Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we live in a country where we're able to even meet together, Lord, to discuss matters of our children's education, Lord. And I thank you for the dedicated people here tonight, Lord, that are here for that very purpose, Lord, for they are our most precious resource, Lord. And Lord, I pray that you would guide us in everything we do and we say, that will lead us towards the end of our children having a great education, Lord, and our country to be grown and make even greater than what it is now, Lord. Lord, lead us and guide us in everything done in this place tonight. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Will you rise and face the flag and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is to approve the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next is the consent agenda. You see several items under there that you've had a chance to peruse at your leisure. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
And we have a second. Mr. Wiggins, thank you. Any discussion, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good News Spotlight. And we will call Mike Burris, our Director of Title I Services, and he will start this Good News Spotlight off right. Won't you, Mark?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Stout. Last month, I had the honor of recognizing our high school academic derby champion. And this month, I'm very proud to recognize our middle school academic derby champion. Our middle schools are done a little bit differently for academic derby. We actually divide them into two divisions, and then our winners from each division face off in a head-to-head match to determine a championship. This year's championship match featured two undefeated teams, Southwest Middle and Trexler Middle. The championship match was extremely competitive, and the difference in the final score came down to one question. At this time, I'd like to invite this year's Middle School Academic Derby champions, Trexler Middle School, to come up for the trophy presentation, and they will be taking the trophy home for the second year in a row. If I can get Principal Lynn Jackson, Coach Susan Rogers, and all the members of the team, Jolene Hutchinson, Sydney Davis, Cameron Griffin, please join me up here, please. Will Mills, Michaela Shelby, Riley Stone, Bryce Tobin, Alexa Addison, Caroline Kubis, Azelle Solomon, Allison Bundle, and Tiffy Eckernach. Please come on up, and I got some certificates, and then we will have the trophy presentation. Julian? Sydney? Cameron? Will? Michaela? Riley? Bryce? Caroline? Azelle? Allison? Tiffany? All right. Please join me in congratulating this year's academic derby champion, Trexler Middle School. Great job.
parents, you can come up if you want to take a picture. Dr. Korenik, Director of Human Resources, will make the next recognitions. And so you look really nice tonight, Dr. Korenik. We'll have Dr. Collins.
Not quite as good looking as Dr. Korenik, but anyway, we're going to move ahead with some more awards tonight. So thank you for being here, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We will move to recognizing some of our employees tonight. We have the Beginning Teacher of the Year, the Mentor Teacher of the Year, and also our Gladys Stafford Award winner. The Beginning Teacher of the Year and the Mentor Teacher of the Year award are presented annually to an outstanding elementary, middle, or high school first year and mentor teacher employed by Onslow County Schools. School leaders nominate individuals for Beginning Teacher of the Year. Finalists are selected based on their performance in the following categories: teacher leadership, interaction with students, facilitation of learning and content knowledge, interaction within the educational environment, and other distinguishing characteristics. The final selection is based upon a classroom observation. Ms. Brandon McGee from Clyde Irwin Elementary School, if you would please join me along with your principal, Lori Howard. Ms. Howard nominated Ms. McGee for this award, and this is the Beginning Teacher of the Year award, based on the success of her first year. She says, based on the success of her first year, I can only imagine the impact Ms. McGee is going to make on the future generations. She is truly a gift to education. Ms. McGee also grew up in the Clyde Irwin district, and I think you went to school there as well, didn't you? You don't think so, but the same area. Yes. Okay. So let's have another round of applause for Ms. McGee and Beginning Teacher of the Year. The Mentor Teacher of the Year. School leaders or beginning teachers may nominate mentor teachers. Winners are selected based on their effectiveness in supporting beginning teachers in the following categories: demonstrating leadership, establishing a respectful environment, knowing the appropriate content, and facilitating learning and reflecting on their practice. Jace Reddick from Parkwood Elementary School, would you please join me at the podium along with your principal, Linda Kopek, if she's here. And I don't see Linda. Mr. Reddick mentored David Gould, the school's visual arts teacher. Mr. Gould described his experience with Mr. Reddick by stating, "He always looks for the humor in a good-natured and humbled fashion. By example, he has taught me to laugh at all of our minor flaws and work our way intensely to improve our lessons throughout the week." Mr. Reddick has been a valued employee at Parkwood since 1995. Mr. Reddick, Jace, thank you very much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. That's a good picture.
Thank you.
And our final award tonight for employees is the Gladys H. Stafford Award. Each year, the Gladys Stafford Award for Outstanding Secretarial Service is presented to a school-based office support staff person who has exceeded all expectations in the work performance. The person selected for this award consistently interacts with others in a positive manner, demonstrates initiative and creativity in solving problems, accepts new challenges, and demonstrates a desire to improve work performance as a lifelong learner. Gladys H. Stafford was a school secretary in Onslow County herself. Her family presents the award annually to pay tribute to her and others like her. The family also provides a $400 award with this recognition. The recipient this year is Miss Cynthia Shepard from Dixon Elementary School. Miss Shepard, if you will join me at the podium, along with Mr. Reed, the school's principal. Ms. Shepard has been employed by the Onslow County Schools since 1995. She is currently the treasurer at Dixon Elementary, and she is an active member with the OCAEOP group. Mr. Reed nominated Ms. Shepard, stating, "She is truly one of the most dedicated employees I've ever worked with. She completes all tasks with a wide smile or a quiet laugh with total professionalism." Again, we'd like to congratulate Ms. Cynthia Shepard for this award.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. Next, Dr. Beth Folger, our Deputy Superintendent, will come to the podium.
Good evening, Chairman
Glad
Thomas.
you could fly in to join us.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure, believe me. Good evening, Chairman Thomas, board members, Mr. Stout. This evening, it's my pleasure to share good news about our communications department, our community affairs. The North Carolina School Public Relations Association offers annual statewide recognitions of its members for outstanding publications, internet homepages, photographs, as well as other special programs and marketing campaigns. Onslow submitted this year in the electronic media category. School public relations professionals across the state were honored on Friday, January the 27th for the products of their craft during the North Carolina School Public Relations Association's annual Blue Ribbon Awards for Effective Communication Celebration in Greensboro. There were 37 districts across North Carolina that were recognized for outstanding work, and a total of 255 awards were given that day in 8 different categories. We are excited to share that included in the list of winners were the Onslow County School District. Lori Crowder, our multimedia coordinator, received 4 Blue Ribbon Awards in the electronic media category. So if I could please ask Ms. Crowder to please come up. We all know what an outstanding job Ms. Crowder does, and we recently even saw her fine work, if those of us who were able to attend the State of the Community address and saw the very nice video that showcased our district and the work that has occurred in our district over the last year. And also would like to share that that has been submitted at a national level. So we hope that next year we'll also be receiving recognition of that at a national level. This year at the state level, we'll share with you that the awards that were given, a gold award, which is the highest award that you can receive, was given for, not in the right order here. A gold award was given for the learning curve for Onslow County Schools. So congratulations for that gold award. A silver award for, and if you haven't seen this, this is just a hoot, but it's called the Busting Bad Busing, and it was part of a PBIS initiative that Lori worked with the Instructional Services Department, and it is a really nice parody on adults behaving badly on the bus and showing students how they should not behave on the bus. So congratulations on that one. Also, we had a silver award. Lori received a silver award on electronic media called This is the Onslow County School System, and this was actually the video that was used at the last year's State of the Community address. I don't know how she's going to get all of these home. And the last was a bronze award that was awarded for the coverage that Lori and the had when, I believe it was Beth Howard, was awarded the Golden Leaf Award by Governor McCrory down at Dixon Elementary School. Thank you. So this was the bronze award. So congratulations. We're so proud of you, and thank you for your great work.
Appreciate you.
And in closing, I'm proud to say that over the past 3 years that we've been a member of North Carolina School Public Relations Association, Onslow County Schools has received 18 Blue Ribbon Awards. So congratulations to the whole team.
And I would like to say to Mr. Holloman, since he has a cabinet full of awards, he better watch out. Before I ask the board members to share their good news, I'd like to recognize that our Commissioner Price is with us this evening, and I didn't see him come in, or I would have said this sooner. Thanks for joining us. Board members, any of you have any good news items you'd like to share?
Yes, Madam Chair, 2 items I'd like to share. I had an opportunity to go to Hunters Creek Elementary School and read to a kindergarten class one of Dr. Seuss's books, Green Eggs and Ham. Sam, I am. And also had the wonderful experience to attend Clyde Irwin Elementary Magnet School and attend their wonderful celebration that they had with the Seuss Mania. And it was wonderful. The parents and the children seemed to enjoy themselves. To all the stakeholders that helped put off that event, and certainly to Ms. Howard, to her staff, they did an exceptional job. Had an opportunity to stop and conversate with some of the parents. They were just truly elated. I believe the community embraced it very well, because some of the comments that I received from some of the community members was that they were just glad it was there, because it was in walking distance for many of them to attend. So that was, if I can steal Dr. Beth Folger's word, that was a hoot as well. So again, wonderful. Hats off, figuratively speaking, to Clyde Irwin and their staff.
Thank you. With so many cars there that day, I thought New River had opened again as a shopping center. Others?
Yes, I'd like to congratulate our Jacksonville High School girls basketball team and our Northside girls basketball team for their advancement in the playoffs. But also I had the opportunity to go and watch the Northside boys play in the semifinals. And they will be playing this Saturday, 7:30, on the North Carolina State campus at Reynolds Coliseum for the state championship. Pray for them. We wish them well, and congratulations to them.
Mr. Taylor?
It's been another exciting month here in the Onslow County Schools. A few weeks ago, we had the opportunity to attend the annual All-County Elementary and Middle School Honors Course Clinic at Northside High School. And the elementary course is comprised of about 100 fourth and fifth graders from throughout the county, and about 90 middle school students. They worked extremely hard for a day and a half and presented a great concert Saturday afternoon. We'd like to thank all the teachers for giving of their time and not only working and preparing the children for several weeks out, but also for all the time given during that weekend. It's just a great event every year, and the auditorium is always packed. Following along in the area of the arts, I had the opportunity to attend the opening of the Art in the Airport exhibit. That's the Albert J. Ellis Airport. 15 of our high school students representing Jacksonville High School, Northside High, Richlands High, Southwest High, Swansboro High, and Whiteoak High had their selected artwork exhibited at the Albert J. Ellis Airport on the second floor. It's a beautiful manual here, and that was a commemorative token of their fine work, and it's just fine quality work. As you're heading to board your plane or you're getting off the plane, there are 15 beautiful pieces of artwork there on the hallway that welcome visitors and so forth. It's just a beautiful display. This is the partnership between the Onslow County Commissioners and the administration of the airport and the Onslow County Schools. So here's another opportunity to showcase the great work with our artwork and our students. Also, talking about all counties, a few weekends ago was the All-County Art Symposium hosted at White Oak High School. This is where talented art students in the high schools gather for a day and a half to share their talents and to work with professional artists in our area. That was another great opportunity. And like Reverend Churchwell, I had the opportunity to get down on my knees and read to some kindergartners at Johns Commons Elementary and first graders at Swansboro Elementary. And if that doesn't tell you what life is all about, I don't know what is. It was just a great experience. The kids were just wonderful to be with. Asked a lot of questions. I managed to read the story there in time, but I just had a wonderful experience. So thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, I was trying to get one of our other board members' attention about an activity that I think he wants to report on. So I don't know if you mentioned Habits of the Mind art contest at Parkwood?
I was there, but I would.
Okay. Well, Habits of the Mind is the opportunity that Parkwood Elementary is using with a Habit of the Mind for each of the grade levels there, and they entertained an art contest and picked the winners of that, and then they had an art show, and as we judged, the students came out, and you had to ask them questions about their habit. They were very talkative. They were thrilled that they could showcase what they did, and I enjoyed that, and I know that Mr. Taylor and all the other adults who were there did as well. Battle of the Books this last week was for elementary school as well as for middle school, and the elementaries, we have so many, we have to do that across 3 or 4 days, and the middle school was one day. Coming up on the 17th, I believe, is the high school Battle of the Books. I know that we have a couple of other things that Mr. Williams is going to share and Mr. Reverend Churchwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to tell you about the White Oak Interact Club. Last Saturday, we had 22 energetic students from the White Oak Interact Club join the New River Rotary, the Breakfast Rotary, and the Rotary South here in Jacksonville clubs. And we went out to Sturgeon City. We did a cleanup project of the drying beds out there. For 3 hours, those young people stood out there with us, shoulder to shoulder, digging in the dirt and cleaning up the drying beds out there. Excellent job. One of the ladies that was with us, the advisor from White Oak, Catherine Kuntz, made a mention after that during that 3 hours of that cleanup, not one of those kids pulled out their cell phones. Now, that in today's age is an accomplishment by itself. But it was a delightful time. We had a little barbecue afterwards. They worked their backsides off. It was a good time. It was a good service project, and we intend to do more of those to involve our youth in service projects around the county. Thank you.
You know, as your board attends staff development and seminars, we certainly like to share the things that we do, and I've asked Reverend Churchwell if he would report on something that we've recently done.
Yes, Madam Chair. Along with Madam Chair, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Wiggins, and Mr. Ridge and myself, we were able to travel to Raleigh on the 3rd of March and attend a one-day session that focused on the poverty factor, addressing the gap between education and poverty. And the facilitators brought forth some wonderful information that will help as we continue to minister and deal with our youth that are challenged in some respects because of their environments. It helps us understand that there are some hidden rules, there are some cues, there are some language barriers, there are some deficiencies in the words developments. So it allowed us to actually participate in a number of events that helped us gain a greater understanding of how some of these factors inhibit them from actually learning and being some of the most productive students in the classroom. So it was very rewarding. I think Mr. Taylor and Mr. Wiggins participated in one of the activities. I don't know who has the videotape of that, but it was very interesting.
I thought we made a deal.
Careful where you going.
But again, it was a very rewarding experience, and we were thankful that we had the opportunity to attend.
Any others? Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And as you realize to the public that there's so much going on in Onslow County to be proud of, and to be blessed that we have students and community support, and the students are willing to showcase their skills. Upcoming is our plays, our high school plays, and we have elementary as well as middle school plays. Not every school does that, but we do have every high school having a drama of some type this year. It's a good small amount of money for a good time, so I hope you'll join us in those. Pretty well quality time, that's for sure. And that's the end of our Good News Spotlight. If you're here just for the good news and you'd like to take your leave at this time, it would certainly be appropriate to do. If not, we welcome you to stay and for our regular business meeting. And thank you for coming and joining us. As they're making their way out, this is where we enter our first public comment session. And in the first public comment session, we've had one person to sign up. You know that our rules are, and our policy is 5 minutes will be held at the beginning following the Good News Spotlight, and these comments must be directly issue-oriented with any agenda items for the board's current meeting. Mrs. Stephanie Milbery of Pepperwood Lane in Hubert is going to speak about the Queens Creek Sandridge Elementary realignment. Thank you for coming. I don't know if that microphone is on. Is that microphone on? Okay, it's on.
All right. Do I still have to state my name, address?
You don't need to. I have it right here, and I stated it for you.
Okay, perfect. All right. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak here this evening, and thank you for those that did read my email prior to this meeting tonight. My daughters do attend Queens Creek Elementary. They are excelling at that school. Moving to North Carolina was not easy for them. It wasn't easy for us as a family. And I think pulling them from this school right now would be a great disservice to them as students in your district. I understand that children are resilient. They have to be, especially military children. I know my children are, but I believe it's our job as parents to try to prevent them from having to be resilient all of the time. They deal with deployments, they deal with dad being gone. It's hard on them. So I think keeping them in the same school is very important. Being military, we don't always get a choice of where we go. We don't always get a choice of when we are moving. But when we found out we were coming here, we decided this is where my husband was going to retire. So we chose the school my kids were going to stay in, that they wouldn't have to move again. And now they're being forced to change schools. And that's very hard on them, and it's very hard on us as a family. So what I'm asking for are options. I'd like to be able to let my kids stay at Queens Creek, providing that I do get them to school and pick them up every day. I believe options are fair. I believe that's a reasonable request. I just think it's the right thing to do. So that's all I have for this evening. So
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you.
That is the only person who signed up at the first public comment session, so we'll move right into our regular business. And at this time, Mr. Stout will come forward and talk about the realignment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. So yes, we're going to talk a little bit about a realignment, but I think it's important for the public to understand why we have to realign to begin with. You know, Onslow County has become a hotbed for people to move into Onslow County. We're currently over 26,200 students, and we're gaining about 200 to 400 students a year. And to kind of equate that, that's almost a half a school or a small elementary school when you think about it, that's actually coming to our county each and every year. So it's kind of tough. We have 2 current schools in the process of being built, with 37 schools currently in place. And we currently know that we're going to have more buildings coming up in the next
few years. And our funding formula that we have, our joint funding formula, actually helps us address those needs. So what I want to do is kind of let you, from the public, understand how this realignment process took place. We look back in November. Each year, the redistrict committee comes together and looks at the population of the schools, and we realized that this particular situation, Queens Creek and Sandridge, was kind of unbalanced, and they sit in the same area and location down there in the Swansboro area. And so what you see is you have Queens Creek that has a capacity of 656, but right now they're sitting about 115 students over capacity. Where right down the road, just a few miles, we have Sandridge with a school capacity of the same, but they're under capacity at 490. So we had at least some leeway in terms of to look at this. Why do we do it? Better alignment of the district, putting students closer to assigned schools, transportation efficiencies, and also I mentioned the joint education funding policy. And I wanted to put that up here because I don't think when I was down there talking in February to add actually Sandridge with the crowd, I didn't have it in front of me, but the funding formula requires that we use the seats that are available in surrounding districts prior to requesting funds from the county to build new classrooms. In essence, we have to use what's available. So that's why we continue to look at this year to year to make sure our schools are balanced, knowing that we're going to have to continue to work with our county commissioners, which is our only way of funding schools in terms of finding dollars to be built. So staff researches this. We look at student populations, which ORAD, or facility planners out of NC State, that actually looks at growth data, births in the county and the region, transportation, facility capacity. Those are the things that we have to look at, and we have them color-coded most of the time to let us know in terms of when they're over capacity. And I believe red's over capacity, and if you look at our sheet, it's pretty much red all the way across the board. So staff creates a viable plan, which we share, to the board, which we did back in November of 16. We talked about this issue. We also addressed the public comment piece in February down there at Sandridge. We had a number of questions and concerns as we had tonight. We took some of those questions and answers, sent the answers back in terms of what some of those concerns were, as well as how the two programs between the two schools matched up. And then a decision is made after all that is considered. Things to consider: crowding existing schools. The projections run 5 to 10 years, so there's not like Walmart can be built. It can be built almost in a year or two. A school takes quite a bit of time, between 3 and 5 years, to build a new school. The structural program requirements, we try to make sure all those needs will fit when we do a balancing act in terms of students and moving them. Transportation efficiency, and also considering neighborhoods. This is the current attendance boundary that we currently have. I don't think I have a pointer up here, but the green area is the Sandridge, and the purplish or maroon area is actually Queens Creek. Right now, as it stands, as you see, the unbalancing act between the two, there's 175 students that are under capacity at Sandridge, and there's 100 students over capacity at Queens Creek Elementary. Where the blue line divides, you see the new green area. That would be the new area that would be realigned in terms of that would now become Sandridge. And the existing area would remain in Queens Creek Elementary. So this is what the numbers will look like. The numbers up here would pretty much balance the two schools out as fairly equal as possible, giving 13 students under capacity at Queens Creek and 23 students under capacity at Sandridge. Approximately 115 students in this area will be impacted. It balances students between the two schools. Only rise in fifth graders that we're considering to recommend, we're recommending that to be grandfathered in. But the question has come up, what happens if there's a sibling that has a family with a fifth grader? We can only, if we really want to fix the problem, we can only grandfather for 1 year to fifth graders. If we started grandfathering other children, then our realignment balancing issue would never solve itself over the next couple of years. So that's why we're only recommending the fifth graders to be grandfathered with transportation provided by the parent. Again, the public sessions that was held in February, questions and answers was posted on the website and parents notified. An email account was set up and established and information provided to the board for review. Board action to consider to adjust the district lines for Queens Creek Elementary and Sandridge as presented for the 17-18 school year, as well as the staff also requested that the board consider allowing the fifth graders to be grandfathered for next year. So that would be the fourth graders that are rising up to be fifth graders, that would be grandfathered.
Do I have a motion to approve the redistricting plan as presented by our superintendent and to consider to approve the provision of rising fifth graders be given the option to stay?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or comments?
The only comments that I would like to make, Madam Chair, are that I wish we could have done this back when we did the other redistricting a couple of years ago or a year or so ago. It probably would have been less traumatic if we had done it all at one time for the community. However, those of us that went to the State of the Community breakfast here recently were briefed by Marine Corps that we could see significant increases over the next couple of years in Marine Corps presence based on staffing up. So this problem's not going to go away. It's only going to become worse. And we have to attack the problems as they come to us. We understand it's a imposition to the families. In some cases, though, it actually puts them in a school district that is much closer to their residential boundaries. So that's part of the good part about it. I'm retired military. I understand the trials and tribulations that families have that move to this area and have frequently had to move their children in and out of different schools. So I understand that's an issue, but I also understand that we have restrictions with the number of classrooms we have in the current schools. So I don't see any other option at this point. We're building schools. We have 2 in progress. We have 3 on the drawing board. However, as Mr. Stout had mentioned, that's a 3 to 5 year process. Those are staggered implementations, and they are throughout the district. They are out through the entire Onslow County area, so it's not going to just target any one particular area. So although it may be a short-term imposition to some families, long-term, our growth in building new schools hopefully will help us alleviate some of those issues.
Thank you. Other comments?
In comparing the last time we redistricted, are we pretty much consistent regarding?
Absolutely. We grandfathered at last time we redistricted the fifth graders. I think Carolina Forest was grandfathered in as well with their own transportation.
So we're being consistent.
Absolutely. We have not changed anything since the last time we redistricted in terms of how we approached it.
Well, I'd certainly, again, reiterate what I said back at the last redistricting, that as a parent of third graders at that time, I can empathize with parents because although my wife and I were educators, we went through the same process, had the same feelings, same concerns, same questions. But as the young lady stated earlier about kids are resilient, but as parents, we probably worried more about it than the kids did. In 48 hours, they were fine because they made new friends. But I do understand. I also remember the days in Swansboro where before the Queens Creek Elementary, the Sand Ridge, and so forth, The explosion in our county started, I think, at Swansboro. It's pretty much like a tsunami, and it spread across the county. And Mr. Wiggins, you probably know better than anybody, as former principal at Swansboro Middle, the restraints that schools had at that time. So,
yeah.
But anyway, we're in a growing county. We continue to grow, and I empathize with all the parents. I really do.
Other comments?
Madam Chair, I have a couple. Over the last couple of weeks, I have received several communications from the community regarding this issue. If you have not received a response from me over it, it was on purpose. I wanted to make sure that we got to cast a vote tonight before I sent out my thoughts on the process. 3 years ago, they did a redistricting that affected my son, or was going to affect my son. He was set to go to Richlands Primary School when they did the redistricting, and thank goodness he got to stay. But me and my wife had to make a decision on if they would have changed him, what we were going to do, and we prepared to move. Unfortunately, in the next couple of years, we're probably going to have to make that decision again because of a new school building that's probably going to have to make us move. And I'm going to have to cast a vote on that, and I have to cast a vote in this position is what's best for the school district, and what's best for the school district in this position is probably to realign Queens Creek and Sandridge. I know that's probably not what a lot of folks want to hear, but we have a fiduciary responsibility when we're busing students past one school to another school. It's not cost effective, and we need to take care of that. Can't go to Mr. Price and the commission and ask them for a new school building if I'm not using the classrooms that we already have. So I just wanted to explain why I'm going to cast the vote that I cast, and I hope everyone understands, although it's not what you want to hear, it's what I believe is financially prudent. Thank you.
Others? Hearing no other questions or comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Dr. Folger, the calendar. We're ready.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, board members. Tonight, bring you information for the 2017-18 calendar. In your board information, we'll go over very quickly. Tonight, staff is bringing to you a recommendation of 3 calendars. As we continue to be innovative in our schools, the calendar becomes more complex for our school district. So the 3 calendars that is being presented to you tonight is the traditional school calendar for our traditional calendar schools, a year-round calendar for both Clyde, Irwin, and Northwoods Elementary, and the new calendar for our new Early College High School that will be opening up this coming fall. In October of 2016, we met with the systems involvement team as well as the Quality Council and provided both templates of calendars as well as some draft calendars, and received a lot of great feedback both in person at that meeting and electronically from those teams. We took that feedback and made revisions to the draft calendars, and we took those draft calendars to the principals and had quite a bit of dialogue about whether to stay consistent among the grade levels. And part of the challenges that we're working with, as you know, are the legislative challenges. So there are many legislative requirements that we have to work within that really refines or defines what we can do with our calendar. Some of those that I would just like to highlight is that we are required to start the Monday closest to August the 26th. For the coming year, that means that the only day that we can begin school is August the 28th, Monday, August the 28th. We have no flexibility other than to start on that date. Legislation also requires us to end our school year on the Friday closest to June the 9th. That Friday this year is June the 8th. That means that we have to start no earlier than August the 28th and end no later than June the 8th. If you count every single weekday, including holidays, including over Christmas break or the winter break, etc., between those 2 dates, you would come up with 205 weekdays. When you subtract out 180 student days 11 holidays that we are federally required to give, 10 annual leave days that we are required to give teachers, and add 4 work days in, that equates to those 205 days. So basically, the 180 days, the 11 holidays, and the 10 annual leave days only gives us space to put 4 teacher work days during the student year. We are required contract-wise to have 14 teacher work days. That means that 10 of those have to come before and after the school year, 4 during the student year. So on the calendars, you will see that on the traditional school calendar, that's what we've had to do. We have some more flexibility, of course, on the year-round and on the early college because we can expand outside those legislative start and end dates because we have calendar waivers that allow us to go outside those dates. After getting those feedback from the principals, we revised those drafts, and in February, each school has a Teacher of the Year that sits on an Superintendent's Advisory Council. We took 3 drafts to the Teacher of the Year's Advisory Council, and they again gave us feedback. They threw out one of those calendars. We had asked them to narrow it down to 2, and then they also made some adjustments on those 2. Those were the 2 calendars that on February the 9th went out to all staff members, certified staff members and full-time employees, and then employees voted. It was not even close this year, with a majority vote of 77 to 23%. Calendar A that you have in your packet is what the employees voted that they wanted us to recommend to the board for the traditional school calendar. As far as the year-round calendar goes, both principals of the year-round schools and I sat down and worked together to create the year-round calendar. That calendar went back to the faculty, and just as in years past, the year-round schools, which, as you know, Clyde Irwin is not year-round this year but will be next year. Both of those staffs voted whether they would support the calendar before you, and we had, I believe, 81% in support of the calendar and 19% not in support of that calendar. And the last calendar, which is the early college calendar, because they do not have a staff yet, there was not a vote for the early college calendar, but the project team, which consists of both community college members and Onslow County school members, both have looked at this calendar and approved this calendar moving forward. So it has the blessing of the project team, and they are comfortable with us making this recommendation to the board to approve this calendar. And so with that information, I would like to also mention that on the calendars, we tried to overlap as many days as possible that are work days, even with the early college calendar, so that we would not have transportation running for early college on days that transportation was not running for our traditional schools. You'll see a lot of overlap also, so that when there are teacher work days or professional development days, schools can still share professional development. We tried to overlap as much of that as possible. There are not our early release professional development days on the early college calendar. We have talked with Mr. Strope, who was recently named the new principal, and who has, at this point, we may be coming back to the board with a different recommendation, but at this point his recommendation is not to add those days because the students will be taking their college courses in the afternoon, and of course would not be excused from their college courses, that they will also be taking their PE and a computer course their freshman year on campus, and so they would not be excused from those courses when there's early release professional development. So that's why you do not see those days. So with that, I would see if you have any questions, and if not, make the recommendation that staff has for adoption of these calendars.
Before we have an opportunity to ask any questions or make any comments, may I have a motion to accept calendar A, the year-round calendar, and the Onslow early college calendar?
Make such a motion.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Now let's have any comments or questions.
Yes, I have a quick question with regards to the A calendar. Every year we run into issues with snow, hurricanes, other coastal issues that we have here with rain, et cetera. Do we have dates built into that calendar that will accommodate some non-school days. I know it's tight, and I know that the legislature makes us fit into trying to put a square peg in a round hole sometimes, okay? But do we have those dates built in?
So, Mr. Williams, we do not have those dates built into this calendar. We did not have it built into the current calendar. Years past, we've been able to put a no day in there, and we just did not have any extra days to put a no day. The legislative requirements are that we have 180 days or 1,025 hours. With our school hours, we exceed that. So this year, we were able to absorb a day because we exceeded the 1,025 hours. So we have some flexibility. If we miss too many days, we would then have to come back and either make up a day. We could do that on a weekend day, or we could take a day away from a spring break, et cetera, and come back and do that. So we could go back and put a day on a spring break or a Saturday as a makeup day, or we could do like we have done this year and absorb a day, but that would be, a decision to be made at that time, depending on how many days.
And the year-round calendar is not quite that strict, is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Dr. Folger, I noticed that professional development days are not work days, correct? Therefore, we would have, those days could be used if we had to make up any inclement weather days and do the staff development like after school or something, even though it's better to have the entire day devoted to it. Is that correct?
The days that are marked as PD are really the early release days. So the kids are in school those days, and then they're just early release that afternoon. Yes, ma'am, we could, in fact,
I saw Barry
make
over there
those
trying to give me a signal, and I...
half days. Those are half days.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Once again, you're working with a calendar that has no wiggle room. It's tight due to the restraints given to us by the General Assembly. And we're all excited about the early college. We've been hoping for this day to come for a very long time. And when I see where they start on their first day of class is the 7th, but the community college begins probably around the 16th or the 17th. I haven't seen their calendar yet, but it's usually the middle of August. So we have an early college sitting on a community college campus that has a sort of a misaligned calendar, but it will work. There are currently 27 local bills in the General Assembly affecting 53 school systems in the state, asking for flexibility in the school calendar. And many of these school systems across the state have their early college. So it only makes sense that that early college calendar aligns with the community college. Hopefully one day we'll get there. But they're all asking for the same thing, flexibility in the calendar. And just like we're asking, have expressed interest in that as well. I would be very interested to hear the students and the teachers at the end of exams, December the 15th, when they leave the early college to go home for a break. I think they're going to love it, because there was a time we used to do that, Mr. Wiggins, Mr. Ridge, that they won't have that pressure of worrying about exams coming back to them in mid-January. So anyway, thank you for all you do, because I know it's like putting a huge puzzle together and all the restrictions and demands. And one more thing, the system improvement team and the quality council, that's not just comprised of teachers and principals. I think there are community leaders, there are parents involved in that. So we're getting input from our stakeholders as well. So
Thank you for mentioning,
all you do.
Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Taylor. That's important for our public to know, that parents and different stakeholders are involved in that. And if I could just clarify, one of the reasons that the early college begins before the community college is because we require more days of school than the college students attend. So we still have to get our 180 days in for our high school classes. And so we start a little bit before the community college.
And to our public and our parents, understand that if we could change this, the legislature has put us in a very tough situation. Look across this state, the mountain districts, the Piedmont, the coastal. One little peg doesn't fit all those, and it doesn't make sense. As a high school principal, when we started a little earlier, we had students that graduated before Christmas, and they were able, I had kids to go to Penn State, Florida State, Carolina. They can't do that now. They started early. They started second semester. So it's really a disadvantage the way it is now. I wish the legislature would leave that alone and let local units decide their own calendars. It would be so much better for our students. And we were talking earlier about military families who may want to go home for Christmas. Wouldn't it be nice if children finished their exams, it was all over, and they had really the Christmas spirit and the travel, and not have to come back and immediately worry about exams? So it's a state issue, and I wish it would be turned over to local districts to decide their own.
Just for the public to know that the board has written our legislators and requested consideration for calendar flexibility. We haven't heard anything, and I don't think anybody else has, but that is our wish, that we would have the flexibility to set our calendar which fits our needs for our students and our community. Well,
I just have one quick question. As it relates to our spring break and fall break for just early college, how does that align with Coastal's calendar?
We work closely with Coastal. We actually work together, so their spring breaks align with their spring break. Yes, sir. You're welcome.
we didn't mean to get off on a tangent about school, the right for us to have flexibility, but it was nice to get that out for us. Since we have 3 calendars that were presented, and I don't believe there's any more questions or comments, I ask for a motion to approve the calendar. We already have a motion. I think Mr. Ridge made that, and Mr. Wiggins did the second. Did you? Is that correct? Or did you did the first? Miss Ramsey told me she couldn't keep up with this sometime because we mumble or we keep our heads down. So I'm trying to do a good job of keeping up with it too, and then I can't. So
thank you, Miss Ramsey.
So I'm trying to do that. We have a motion and a second, and we have certainly made some comments which were well said, I think. We have all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you for doing that, and you tell your committee thank you too.
I will. Thank you so much.
Next, Dr. Eason, our Associate Superintendent, and Teresa Alphen, the Director of Childhood Initiatives, will be presenting the Head Start Grant Project.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Stout. Each year, our Division of Early Childhood Initiatives returns to our Board of Education to seek approval for our annual Head Start project this year for the 2017-2018 school year. That funding is truly integral to our braided preschool program and equals approximately 28% of our entire pre-K program through the school system. I cannot begin to tell you how fortunate the Onslow County School System is to be the contractor and grantee for the Head Start program. We really look at our pre-K program as one of our trophy programs. All you have to do is walk in a classroom of 4-year-olds and you know that our funds are well invested and that we are getting the children on the right path. And I also want to share with you that we are very, very fortunate because of our braided program with Head Start and our other funding sources to really have high-quality leadership and high-quality teaching staff in everything that it takes to educate our youngest children. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Teresa Alphen, who is our Early Childhood Initiatives Director, and she and her staff have just done an outstanding job getting our project together for your approval this evening for the 17-18 school year. Thank you, Dr. Eason.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Stout. Okay. Well, July 1st marks our 4th year of our 5-year Head Start grant project. We're funded approximately for $1.8 million. Which includes $24,000 for our training and technical assistance for continuous improvement. We serve approximately 500 children overall, and of those, 230 are Head Start students. First, I'd like to share, in your packet, you have a number of documents. I know they're kind of detailed, but I'll start with our annual program self-assessment, the strengths. We have a broad scope of services that's provided by Onslow County Schools, such as HR and nutrition department, our finance, auxiliary services. We're very appreciative of that. We also have a collaborative partnership with Exceptional Children's Services, which has enhanced our capability to provide children and families with easy access to appropriate services and support. We're in our 4th year of our CEFL Pyramid Model initiative, which includes a coaching component and extensive training on instructional practices that promote positive child outcomes, which are shared with the board in the fall. Also, we have highly qualified teaching staff and management staff that Dr. Eason shared with you tonight. We operate a braided preschool program that's comprised of Head Start, Title I, Exceptional Children, and dual-enrolled NC Pre-K slots. And another good thing is that we have all 8 preschool sites are child care license, which provides an additional layer of health and safety for our staff and our students. Also in the grant, you have our progress on our long-range goals. Our fall 2016 class scores far exceeded the minimum threshold in all 3 domains for Head Start, and our scores are already near the national average, which is measured again in the spring of 2017. So that was for fall. We were already near the national average in fall, much less when the spring comes around. So, and last year we exceeded the national averages in class. Also, we have our CEFL training has been provided for new teaching staff. We have 3 additional classrooms that have been added to the CEFL coaching model. 86% of all our preschool children were meeting or exceeding expectations in the domain of social emotional support at the conclusion of 2015-16 school year. Family engagement, community engagement, our male involvement is another goal. Not doing quite so well with that, but we have multiple opportunities for families to be engaged, and we have made numerous attempts on our male involvement leadership team again this year. We have initiated it, but so far we haven't had been able to accomplish them coming together as a team, but we're still offering many opportunities for the male involvement. And also, last year we had a preschool information and resource fair, transition fair type thing, and it was very successful, and we're already in the planning stages of another fair for this year in May. And I'll conclude with our community assessment update. New Head Start standards now require a full community assessment. It was every 3 years, now it's gone to every 5 years. Right now we're in a year in between, so we are just required to do an update if there's any changes in the community, anything that you wanted to add. So in your packet you have where we discussed our universal application, collaborative efforts with the Onslow County Partnership for Children. We now have a universal application for 2017-18. We had our first mass application yesterday. It was a full house at Thompson Early Childhood. So we're looking forward to being able to work together with that universal application that will enable our families to have easy access to preschool. That is our goal. Are there any questions in regards to the Head Start grant project for 2017?
Yes, Madam Chair, I got one question.
Is this an action item? I'm trying to open mine.
Yes.
Well, let's have a motion in a second first before we open it for questions. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Reverend Churchwell?
The male involvement leadership team, do you foresee you being able to rectify that
Well,
soon,
in 2014-15, you know, every year the dynamics of your families are different.
Okay.
And in the year 14-15, it was wonderful. We had a group of guys that were just gung-ho, and our family specialists worked with them to help organize the team, and they just took it on their own and just went mad with it. But the last couple years, we promoted, you know, we would have like maybe a gathering with pizza and things to try, and then afterwards, you know, we would share, you know, the purpose of the leadership team, and You know, a lot of folks, though, they're working and different reasons why maybe they can't do it, but we'll continue to make that effort. You know, that's what we can do on our part, and then it's up to the parents whether they'll, take hold and go with it, hopefully. But we're still working on it actually for this year, and it's March, so this started like in September. Actually, when we first have an orientation, this is when it's proposed to the families that, we would love to have this male leadership team. Now, just so you know, even though we don't have this team organized, they are really good at coming out we have parent involvement once a month, that they come into the classrooms and have an activity. They're really good about coming to events like that. That's not so much the problem as trying to get a team together of males where they make those kind of decisions and do things, with the preschool children, organize things. So that's what we're trying to do.
I think it's worth pointing out, though, that there are more males on the policy council.
Absolutely.
Than parents, grandparents, so that is helping with those activities.
Yes, absolutely. That's the last 2 years we've had males on the policy council.
Well, if there's anything that any community organizations can do to help leverage and draw some attention to it, please let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
I'd like to echo that as well. Parental community involvement is essential to us being able to be successful with our children.
Absolutely.
And if there's anything that, as board members, that we can help you with on that process, don't hesitate to ask.
I'll take you up on that. So that sounds good.
Others?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. Your issue isn't as much with parental involvement, it's with them in an advisory type capacity?
A leadership type, yeah, and forming their own team.
Okay.
Yes.
One of the areas that you said you're working on is tracking the student outcomes after they leave the program. How challenging is that?
It's very challenging, but actually my assistant director right now is working at the district level, and hopefully within, it'll probably be 2 more years, but that is something that we're working on, to actually have data following through second grade. So that is our goal.
Well, the challenge for that historical data is that they transition out of Onslow County and are not in Onslow County schools, so you can't really follow them as much. But more of them are staying in Onslow County now, and I think we're seeing the payoff.
Yeah, I think over the next couple of years we should have some good data.
I do too.
I can already tell you it really helps a lot. We see major improvement at the beginning of preschool, and when at the end of the year, it is wonderful to see how much they've grown and how their data, it just shows how much they've grown over the course of a year, and that they're definitely ready for kindergarten. So
I just want to add that being part of that assessment, just how impressed I was with the professionalism of the staff.
they're wonderful.
The love and care, and I agree with Mr. Lanier, it's the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, it's really wonderful to see their dedication.
Yes, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Other comments? Kudos to you. Your group does a great job, and Mr. Ridge and I are awed by the increase in the amount of parent involvement on that Head Start Policy Council, and what they do is representatives for their schools. Thank you.
And I would like to thank you and Mr. Ridge for serving on our Policy Council. It means a great deal.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second, and I don't believe there are any more comments or questions, but if so, we'll see afterwards. May I have all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mr. Irwin, Board Policy Consideration 2335.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, the policy is 2335. It's advanced delivery of meeting materials, and the policy has been revised substantially with a lot of input from staff and very little input from me. And what I have here is the policy as recommended. And it's, if I might, I'll read it. At least 4 days prior to each regular board meeting and 48 hours prior to each special board meeting, the superintendent will provide the following materials to each board member: the proposed agenda, minutes of the previous meeting which have not been approved, any supporting information or materials which would assist board members to become informed of the issues proposed for board consideration. So the items being considered are the same. If the materials excluding documents containing confidential information, those materials will be posted online 4 days prior to any regular board meeting and 48 hours prior to a special board meeting, or as soon as the materials are available to the board. And of course, they can be viewed or downloaded from the board's website. Materials not available in electronic format will be made available for public inspection upon request. Meeting materials that are unavailable prior to regular or special meetings due to extenuating circumstances will be posted online promptly following availability to board members. What we've tried to do is anticipate any contingency and address it before it becomes an issue. And as I said, the staff was very active in coming up with some of this language. I spoke with the School Boards Association's attorney that's in charge of policy recommendations as well. Her concern, this is Allison Schaefer, her concern was that the policy needed to have the conditions to address if the materials were not available. And so we have included these conditions as best we can, or as we understand the process. And so this is the recommendation from the staff to the board.
Do you have a motion that we accept the policy as it is?
Motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The only discussion I would like to say is we left last month's meeting with the understanding that I would write up something and provide it to you for your review, and I did that. Some of that is included in what we have before us this evening. Some of it is not. I actually think that what we have before us is probably a better product than what I initially provided to you. It's more in line with what I think that we wanted initially, and it was shortened considerably from the last time that it came before the board. So I think that we've hit all of the topical points. The only issues that I have with this at all are materials not available in electronic format. And once in a while we may run into that. I think that would be the exception as opposed to the standard for that. And I believe that that's important that that's in there, because that does happen from time to time. But in today's age, those materials, even if they're not available at the time that we're having the meeting, typically are put in some type of a electronic format, whether it's a Word document, a PDF document. Even if they come from outside the district and they send them to us, typically they come to us in an electronic format. Sometimes that's not the case. But somebody usually uses electronic format to create these documents. So I would expect that at some point, rather than us having to make those available upon request, that they would also be able to be made, and we could do this through not a policy, but we can do it through superintendent's office and write in instructions with regards to that. There's literally nothing that is in today's domain that doesn't start out as an electronic format. Nobody uses typewriters anymore. Everybody uses a computer to generate their documents in some form or fashion. So the documents are available someplace. Even if they're not available to us at the time of the board meeting, we should be able to get access to those. Or if not, we can scan them into a PDF format and make them available. So with that, I'm going to vote for this. I think it's a good deal.
I think the superintendent has the authority to handle those procedural things in doing this, as we've spoken of, and get the materials to us and for the public's purview as soon as possible. Any other comments?
Madam Chair, as you know, this was my original request a couple months ago. It has gone through a couple different changes with input from quite a lot of people, and I'm happy to say that I think that this is something that'll work for us, and I can support it.
I think as we move to board documents, which this board will discuss later, that it will make it easier for the public to see these as they watch our meeting at the same time. And we're working on that, and I don't know a timeline, but I would say that before next school year, we'll be ready to move forward with that. If there are no other comments or questions?
You need to make sure the open meeting law requires a minimum of 48 hours notice to the public / news media. But in our policy, like most school board policies, they have added, and you're allowed to do that, 4 days prior to the regular meeting. We meet on Tuesday evening, so Ms. Ramsey and Community Affairs have to get this out before the weekend. And I think that's good. During the workshop meeting, and I think last monthly meeting, I asked, have there been any concerns or issues brought to the staff, and they said no. But the policy that's written above, probably a majority of the school systems across this state follow the same policy because it came from the School Board Association, if I'm not mistaken. I too had issues with the last statement regarding materials that due to providing materials due to extenuating circumstances. I don't think I can ever recall that we've had an emergency meeting in 48 hours. I mean, we've had school buildings to burn down, we had a school to burn down, but the staff were not standing around marking time, as just say, waiting for us to meet. We had procedures and policies and guidelines in place for them to go ahead and act in instead of waiting for us. So we have that in place. My concern that when things happen, because nothing's perfect and people are not perfect, that we would place the staff or the board in a gotcha situation. And anything can happen. But I will tell you, I have no problem saying this, that I have the utmost confidence and support that our staff will do everything possible to make it happen. That was my only concern about this part of the policy of putting people in a corner. So.
A clarification for myself, since he mentioned this. Special board meetings include our workshops. So that is a term for both. If we had an emergency meeting, that'd be a special meeting, but also any workshop is considered a special meeting outside of the regular meeting. So that's why that term's there.
Madam Chair, I actually think the emergency meetings are outside the special meetings.
They are. The emergency meetings. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you for working on that, and Dr. Folger, thank you
all.
And your staff for doing that as well. Next is the last item on our agenda, and it's the second public comment session. And the same rules really apply during this time. It will be 5 minutes, and it must be issue-oriented and related to any of the matters that come under the control of the Board of Education. We have one person who is signed up to speak, Mrs. Stacy Jones, or is that a Mr.? Okay. And she is from 738 Radiant Drive in Jacksonville, and she will be speaking about the school lunch program at the high school.
As you mentioned, my name is Stacy. Earlier, probably about in February, we received a phone call as parents from Steve Myers. I understand he was just a messenger, stating that the high school students would no longer be allowed to charge their lunches. If they didn't have any money on their tab or if they didn't receive free lunches, they just frankly would not eat that day. During this particular meeting, I've heard quite a few times the word resilient used quite often, and we know our children are resilient. However, at no time did I hear that someone is advocating for our children. Understand that when our children are in school, there are some that may not have a chance to eat breakfast. So that school lunch is very important. And I understand that there has been abuse to the system. As with any system, there will always be some type of abuse. However, to penalize a child not to be able to eat lunch, or to tell a child they would not be able to carry that lunch tray to their table because they have no funds or their parents have not filled out the application, I feel is simply something as a community is unacceptable. So what I coming to you today is, or tonight, is as a community, how can we advocate? How can we come together? Can we do to correct this problem or to look at this situation to help our children? Because I understand they're in high school. I understand that. I have one in high school. Matter of fact, my last one is in the 12th grade. So he's still a child. I want my child to eat. Understand, I'm a single parent. I was that parent. I fell right in the gap. I made too much to get free lunch for my children, but I just didn't make enough to be able to carry on like regular families will be able to. So for them at some times, because I have 3, there's 2 grown and then there's Alex who's left. So sometimes I relied on them to be able to charge lunch because I just didn't have the money to carry over. But once I got paid, then I was able to bring that account up. But I had to rely upon that. Now I have a child that's older and he can pay for his own lunch because he works. But what about those parents that was in my situation? What about those children whose parents just simply didn't fill out the form but are qualified? What are we going to do for them? Where are we going to stand up and advocate and let our youth know that as a community, we're still standing behind them? So that is what I bring today as a question posing, because you are the Board of Education, you are advocates for our community. How can we help these young children that's not able to provide themselves with the ability to pay for the lunch, but don't have parents that's able to give them the funds for the lunch? That is my question.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There's no other business before the board this evening. I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Have a safe trip back.